Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into one of the biggest and most disruptive trends in higher education globally. I'm talking about degree apprenticeships,
Yep.
or DAs. We've got a stack of sources here, everything from detailed reports on the UK's funding policy to, firsthand accounts from people working at giants like Airbus and Rolls-Royce.
And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out if this model, which, it promises a debt-free degree, a fast track to a career, is it really the shortcut to success it seems to be? Because we have to weigh the huge financial and professional upsides against some of the systemic hurdles.
Right, the logistical friction, the policies driving it, and this thing you've called the social mobility paradox.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. And I think we have to start with the biggest hook, which is just the money. Because for most people, the crushing reality of university debt is, it's the number one thing on their mind.
It absolutely is. The whole appeal is this idea of earn while you learn. And if you look at the financial stakes, it's pretty stark. A
Yeah.
student going the traditional route in the UK can easily graduate with debt approaching, what, £50,000?
50,000, wow, and that's before they've even landed their first proper job. So what's the counter reality for the degree apprentice?
The degree apprentice graduates with zero debt, nothing. The employer covers the entire tuition costs. So they're basically graduating with a 4-year head start. They have no debt, and often they have significant savings because they've been paid a real salary from day one.
That is just a massive leg up, both professionally and, personally. We saw a great example in the sources. Contrasting the choice a school leaver might face, they could go for a traditional Master of Engineering in Meng at a top university like Southampton.
Right.
Or take a degree apprenticeship at Airbus.
Right.
And that Airbus row started with an annual salary of £20,000.
Which is, as one person bluntly put it, a lot more than a student loan.
Hmm.
And that's just the start. The salaries climb really quickly. We're talking £30,000 or even more by the final year.
So they're often commanding a higher salary than a typical graduate who just has the degree certificate.
In many cases, yes. And that's where you see this career acceleration kick in. It's not just about the debt. The DA graduate finishes their program with a full degree of bachelor's, sometimes even a master's, and they already have 4 years of actual paid professional experience under their belt.
4 years.
Exactly. So when they hit the job market or even just move up internally, one employer said there's no competition against peers who only have theoretical knowledge. Think about it. You have so many ambitious graduates who really struggled just to get their foot in the door at a company like Airbus.
Right.
Meanwhile, the apprentice is already a 4-year established professional employee.
That completely changes the economic trajectory for a young person. It bypasses that whole entry-level struggle. There was that great anecdote about an apprentice at Rolls-Royce.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
She finished her program, got a promotion, and by her mid-20s, around age 25, she had already bought a house and a swanky car.
Yeah. That level of financial independence, owning assets that early, it's just completely unattainable for most graduates who are still paying off loans.
Okay, so that financial freedom is incredible, but someone has to pay for it.
Yeah.
How do you fund a 4-year degree and a salary at the same time? I think we need to pull back the curtain on the policy that makes this possible in the UK, the apprenticeship levy.
Right. The levy is the real engine behind this growth in England. It's a mechanism where large employers, any company with an annual payroll over £3 million, they have to contribute 0.5% of that payroll into a digital fund.
And that fund can only be used for apprenticeship training.
Exclusively.
But I've got a question. If companies are just paying into this big pot, what stops them from just, using it for cheap, simple courses for existing staff instead of a really expensive 4-year degree for a new hire?
Ah, that's the key. That's where the policy design gets clever. It's a use it or lose it system. Any money in that fund that isn't spent within 2 years gets clawed back by the Treasury.
Oh, yeah.
So that creates this really powerful incentive for big companies to spend their budget. And they look for the most expensive, highest value training available to use it up. And what's that? It's the high-level, level 6 and level 7 degree apprenticeships.
And the result of that is just staggering. We saw the numbers. In 4 years, the levy turned what was a trickle of funding, about £44 million in 2017, into a £500 million torrent.
Yes, $506 million by 2022. It has completely reshaped the landscape. And it's driven by these core industries, health, engineering, IT. They're not just trying to avoid losing the money. They're trying to solve chronic, decade-long skills shortages.
Right, so they're building their own sustainable talent pipeline.
Precisely. Tailored exactly to what they need.
So we've got the financial hook, the policy engine, but it can't be perfect. The levy itself must cause some friction. What are the day-to-day complaints from employers?
The biggest one is that the system is just too rigid. The levy pays the tuition, which is great, but it doesn't cover all these other crucial costs. We're talking about the apprentices' wages, their travel, or something called backfill costs.
And backfill, what's that?
That's the cost of covering the apprentices' work while they're off studying. So hiring a temp or getting other people to pick up the slack, the levy doesn't touch any of that.
So for smaller companies, the administrative burden could actually outweigh the benefit.
Absolutely. The SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, they're the ones who struggle the most. They call it a substantial bureaucratic burden. They just don't have a big HR department to manage the whole complex process.
And what about the pressure on the apprentices themselves? I mean, you're balancing a full-time job with a full-on university degree. That sounds intense.
It demands an incredible amount of discipline. They have this mandatory 20% off-the-job learning requirement. That's about 6 hours a week. But the key thing is, they face the exact same academic pressure as a traditional full-time student.
The same deadlines.
The same deadlines. We heard about apprentices facing seven deadlines, exams, and assignments in just 6 weeks.
7 in 6 weeks. While holding down a job. Remember, one deadline was stressful enough. That's not earning while you learn. That's earning while you perpetually panic.
And it can cause friction at work, too. There's this guilt factor. Some apprentices feel pushback from colleagues, who think, oh, it's all right for you, you're off for a day a week, not really understanding the workload.
And yet, despite all of that intensity, the satisfaction rating is incredibly high.
It is. It's around 90% overall satisfaction, which really proves that for most of them, the huge opportunity and the debt-free degree, it just outweighs the difficulty.
Which brings us to what's happening in the U.S. The U.K. system is very policy-driven, but the U.S. seems to be innovating with a different set of goals, more around access and equity.
That's what's so fascinating. The U.S. model is less about a single national levy and more about these pioneering partnerships. We saw that great example with the Ideal Institute of Technology and Centenary University in South Jersey.
Right, the work-based pilot college program. How does their model actually differ from the UK's?
They use what's called a dual enrollment model. So students are earning college credits at the same time as they're in these intense vocational programs, technology, construction, you name it. It's not just one big employer. It's a university partnering with a vocational institute to blend the theory and the practice right from the start.
And the motivation here is different. It isn't just about filling skills gaps for corporations. This is explicitly about driving economic and educational equity.
Precisely. It's designed from the ground up to support underserved and first-generation college students. The goal is to slash student debt and boost job readiness for people who are often shut out of the traditional university system. They're hoping it becomes a national model.
That sounds like a fantastic solution. But if the content is so tied to a specific job right now, how do you make sure the academic side keeps up? Especially in tech or health where things change so fast.
That's a huge question. Curriculum relevance. Because things can become, as one report put it, rapidly obsolete. It means the university partners have to be constantly updating their curriculum to make sure what's being taught in the classroom actually matches what's happening on the job floor today.
Okay, this brings us to what might be the biggest, most painful paradox of this whole thing. Social mobility. If these programs are debt-free, lead to high-paying jobs, shouldn't they be a rocket ship for the most disadvantaged school leavers?
Logically, you would think so. But the data shows this really troubling trend. Some people are calling it the middle-class grab. Despite all the potential, DAs in the UK are currently failing to significantly boost social mobility for the most disadvantaged young people.
How bad are the numbers?
They're pretty damning. Only 17% of new DA starts were from disadvantaged backgrounds. And worse, just 5% were eligible for free school meals.
5%.
Which is actually lower than the percentage of students from those backgrounds who go the traditional debt-heavy university route. That's about 6.7%.
Wow. So the most lucrative debt-free path is actually less accessible to the poorest kids than the one that puts them in debt. What's the barrier? What's going wrong?
It really boils down to awareness and, frankly, intense selection. These aren't a backdoor into a company. They're a highly competitive front door. For the top-tier programs, the ones linked to Russell Group universities, the average applicant needs AAB at A level.
Which, for our listeners outside the UK, that's equivalent to top U.S. college entry scores. You need stellar grades just to get in the running.
Exactly. And then there's the information gap. If you're from a school without strong industry links, you might not even know this is an option. So many school leavers say they were very much pushed down the UCAS route. That's the standard university application system. They often find out about DAs by chance. Maybe an aunt who is an apprenticeship trainer. It requires social capital that a lot of people just don't have.
But the model does work for social mobility in a different way.
Yeah.
For people already in the workforce.
Oh, absolutely. That's where it really shines. The majority of these high-level DAs, 57%, are for people aged 25 or over. It's an incredibly effective tool for upskilling mature employees who want to progress in their career.
Like that really moving story of the nursing associate.
Yes, the woman in her early 40s who'd been told she would never amount to anything because she struggled with math as a kid. She went through the DA program, got her degree, and achieved this clinical mastery. It shows the pathway's immense value for professional validation later in life.
So to sum this all up, we have this incredible instrument, the degree apprenticeship. It offers massive financial gain, a truly integrated education. But it's battling these systemic hurdles, inflexible funding rules, a huge administrative burden, and this paradox where the system that should be a great equalizer is currently being claimed by the most academically prepared.
The model itself, at its best, is a brilliant fusion of academic theory and practical application. All our sources agree on that. You get these highly motivated professional graduates who often get better results than their fee-paying peers. They graduate with skills, with confidence. The model works. The challenge isn't the model. It's access.
It's the future of learning if we can just figure out how to open that very competitive front door to everyone. Thank you for guiding us through this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And thank you, the listener, for taking this deep dive with us.
And here's a final thought for you to consider. The apprenticeship levy was designed to incentivize training. But its complexity, this use-it-or-lose-it rule, it inadvertently forces employers to spend big on older existing employees just to stop the money going back to the government. So, if degree apprenticeships are truly going to fix skills gaps and act as real engines of social mobility for young people leaving school, how must the funding rules change to intentionally shift that massive financial incentive away from upskilling those already in a job and towards brand new, young entrants?